Hi everyone, it's Heather again. Welcome everybody, all new people welcome. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming to join us in our little corner of YouTube, because I really appreciate it. I don't know what I did to deserve all you lovely people coming to join the rest of us here in our happy little corner, where we seem to keep out of people's way and out of trouble, I think, for the best part. And, you know, where we can just talk to each other, exchange some views, and generally all get along like a house on fire, which is basically the aim of us, isn't it? Basically, we can all exchange our thoughts and opinions without having to fall out about it, because we're basically all reading from the same page. We all want to be happy. And when you start from a premise like that, I don't think that you can go wrong. Anyway, you'd think that I was going to start from a premise of feeling happy today, wouldn't you? But, oh, what can I tell you? I'm a little bit annoyed on what normally I would have said would be a Yom Tov. Look, I don't know what to say. I feel like a bit of a fraud within the mental health community, because I don't have, I'm very lucky, by the way. I don't suffer from anything apart from depression and maybe some anxiety. I don't have BPD, I don't have PTSD. Well, I suffer with feelings of worthlessness, but that was stamped on me as a child. I also have a very awful childhood event that I think probably put its mark on me for all of my life. But that's for another time. But if I was to compare myself to someone like, well, any of the people that I have up there on a pedestal, like Eric, like Gary, I don't have any major complaints. They have been through some dreadful times, you know. Compared to them, yes, I've had some hard times. I have. The hardest one was when I was 10 years old. And that was a pretty rough time for me. But compared to those guys, I've managed to get off relatively scot-free. And compared to Leif E Greenz, you know, obviously I can't speak on her state of her mental health, because I don't know the girl, right? And I want to make that very clear. I don't know the girl. I think apart from once or maybe twice wishing her all the best when I found out that she was pregnant, I don't think I've exchanged 2 words with her. But I've got to tell you, this thing with Eric and now Gary, and now my friend Jan from Jan's Reviews, it's just got to stop. It has to. It seems that anyone, I think I've broken this down, and I think anyone who criticises Leif is overstepping her boundaries. That's what it's come to mean to me. I mean, I'm going to come back to Eric and Gary in a minute, but my friend Jan today has tried to reach out to Leif about her being, you know, a new mum, and really wishing her well, really thinking about her personally, and, you know, suggesting to her maybe if she just got off YouTube for a while and just focused on being a mum, you know, that might be good for her. And I would have suggested the same thing. being on YouTube is obviously something that's very upsetting to her. It triggers her. So I think, you know, it'll not be long before her baby's here. She should really be focusing on being a new mum. But Leif sees Jan's suggestion as being rude and overstepping Leif's boundaries. And more or less told Jan what she could do with the suggestion. You know, now, I'm sorry, but that's just wrong. And I'm going to say this to you, Leif. And if anybody sort of says, oh, by the way, Hedda Gold's had something to say about you. Leif, I've been watching your live streams. Not from a nosy point of view. I want to try and get to know you as a person. Because one of the things you keep complaining about is that people are making judgments about you and they don't know you. Now, one thing I'm going to have to say is you don't let anyone in. You say you've got friends and what have you, but recently all I've seen is you lashing out at people that you were previously friendly with. And I just don't get it. Now, Eric was a big supporter of yours. And now he's been kicked to the curb. And I want to say some things. And this is not just to Leif. This is to my viewers and anybody who comes along and listens to me. I've been watching, I paid particular attention to Leif's last video, Repzilla and Dr1ven exposing the men who tried to ruin me. Now, I can't speak about Repzilla because I don't know enough about the guy. What I have heard about him isn't great, but I've never spoken to him personally. I've never had any run-ins with him. I can only take what other people tell me and sort of like put it to one side. I can't just say, oh, well, because little Jimmy has told me that Repzilla's crap, that means he's crap. I can't do that. What I have to say is, well, this is what he said about him. So I'm going to take that information, I'm going to put it to one side, and then if and when I need to talk about it or link to it or refer to it later on, then I will. But I need to make my own mind up about things so that I can make a free, informed decision and choices, yes? Because that's what we do. We do our own research. We look into things ourselves and we make our own informed decisions and choices. Because it's no good just being told you shouldn't like so-and-so and such because they do X, Y, and Z. It's all right, you know, taking somebody's word for something. But what happens if that person's wrong, or if they've misheard something or misread something, and you're given the wrong information, and then you end up getting the whole wrong end of the stick of a situation? That's when you'll be feeling foolish and wishing that you had looked into things a little bit deeper. Now, I've got to honestly say, I watched all of this video that Leif had put out. Now, I listened to what she had to say about Repzilla. There's only one thing I can say about that, where she said, Repzilla, you've ruined my life. Is that from my personal point of view, she gave him the right to talk about what they talked about. And then the next thing you know, it's all turned around and he's not supposed to have talked about it. So I found that confusing. Now, I do know that Eric has been a supporter of Leif's. I do. But this is where things start to get a little bit off for me, where things don't feel quite right. And I mean, I have made some notes. One thing I wanted to say about that video, what I found very, very off-putting about the Repzilla and Dr1ven have tried to ruin me video, was all the way through, and it was like subliminal messaging, this flashing image of Leif screaming and this caption saying something like, survivor of abuse, mental health advocate, or something like that. I can't remember the words exactly, and I apologise for that, for not getting it, but it flashed on and off so quickly. But that really put me off. It was like subliminal messaging. And apparently it's supposed to be a YouTube glitch. I've never seen any other videos. I watch a ton of YouTube videos every day. I mean, this is what's part of being housebound. Just in case Leif listens to this and says, oh, well, all she's doing there is sitting there and watching YouTube videos today instead of having a job or getting a life. I can't walk. I can't use one arm. I'm actually unfit for work. You know, I actually can't get a job. Plus, my husband has got a good job and he can look after us really well. And I'm very, very lucky. But if I physically was able, because I'm physically unable through being disabled, to work, yes, of course I would. I'd get myself out of the house. But because I'm now disabled, I am now housebound. And it is really, really difficult. You know, one time when you access all areas, and now a lot of areas you access denied. And that's got at my mental health, by the way, just in case anybody's interested. You know, when I was able to do just about everything, and then it got to the point where I could do just about next to zero, that, you know, that hasn't helped me mentally, and I've had to take the last few years to pull myself around to a different way of thinking, to a different way of doing things, so I can do all day what it takes me all day to do what I used to do all day. Does that make sense? So, sorry, my back is really bothering me today. This thing just kept flashing, and, you know, every now and again, Leif would talk for a while, and then this picture would flash, and it was so off-putting. If anybody wants to go and look at that video, I would just say, if you have epilepsy, I wouldn't. I don't know what this flashing would do to you. So I would listen to it by all means. But looking at the screen, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't advise that. Now, the other things that the other thing I couldn't understand was when Leif started talking, why she was taking just stripes of colours and putting them around her eyes. She didn't explain that, and I don't know whether it's a makeup thing or whether it's a distraction thing. I'm sorry, I have no clue. I don't know what that's about. I'm trying to understand the girl, because I do want to try and understand her. I want to see, you know, where she's coming from, but it's very, very difficult for me, right? So what I wanted to say is this. I'm sorry, but I can't take on board about Eric being a predator. And I can't take, I just can't. And I can't take on board that she believes the hype about Gary, when we've talked before about Gary having hypersexuality as part of as being bipolar. Now, Leif knows all this, and yet she's going backwards instead of forwards with these guys who have done nothing but put out the hand of friendship to her and trying to be kind to her. And she's got this down pat as men trying to take her down. Now, I'm sorry, but I just don't see that. I really, really don't. You know, I have made loads and loads and loads. I mean, I have. I mean, she's accused Eric of using her for gain. She's accused Gary of using her for gain. Everyone has used her for gain, right? Every single person. No doubt she'll accuse me of using her for gain, but I'm sorry, Leif, love, that I'm not making a penny out of you because I'm demonetised and I'm deliberately demonetized. I don't want to be monetized. I don't have any intention of making any money on YouTube because this for me is a hobby. It's a distraction, and I'm making new friends. And this is just the way I look at things. Everybody is entitled to make their coin in any way that they see fit, as long as it's legal and as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, right? It is my personal choice not to want to have gain. I know I'm not ready because I don't have 1,000 subscribers, and I may never get them. And do I look worried? No, I don't, because I said I didn't really want to grow any bigger. Now, I can't stop people coming if they want to come. If they want to come, they are more than welcome. If I make 1,000 subs in the future, that is a miracle, right? It's great. And I am forever grateful. I am forever thankful. But it's just, you know, I'm not interested in like the big time. I'm not interested in making money. So if anybody says to me, oh, you're only in this for coin and what have you, they've got me all wrong, because that is not why I'm here. You know, it's to have fun, to make people smile, to make people laugh, to make new friends, to build a healthier mental community where, you know, we are all reading off the same page, where we're all happy. Yes. Sorry, this throat is still, this is what, a fortnight on, and still croaky. Sorry, just, you know what I'm like, I'm getting on a tangent, I get sidetracked. So anyway, we know about the way she's gone on about Eric, and I'm going to say it now, again. Eric wouldn't hurt anybody. Leif made a great big thing about Eric having merch and having a Patreon. Eric's t-shirts are going to spread awareness about, you know, keeping in mind how serious a subject suicide is. And Leif was saying things like, is this going to be a one-man band? How's he going to manage to get around everybody when you ring a suicide hotline and they leave you hanging on for ages and ages, whereas you'll be able to get onto somebody straight away? And she seemed to be mocking Eric's efforts to want to start an organisation that would be even better than the ordinary suicide hotlines that there are out there. And you'd think that everybody would be coming together on this, but it's not. It just seems at the moment that Leif is on this divisive, self-destructive, I can't even put the right words to this. I know that Eric has tried to help her. Right now, okay, I can understand her being a bit knocked, that Eric a couple of times put the TikTok thing, and she had our mods, you know, tell him to stop it, and he said, right, fine, and he left. But she locked the door after him, so it wasn't as if he could get back in, was it? So she got rid of Eric. You know, she's saying he left of his own accord, but he couldn't have come back, could he, Leif? Because you locked the door behind him. So that's a bit off, right? The next thing I hear is that you've turned against Gary, who, again, he's a gentleman. He is not only a gentleman, he's a gentle man. Just like Eric is a gentle man. They are both gentlemen. And, you know, Leif mentioned something about women feeling uncomfortable around Gary. I'm sorry. No, not as far as I'm concerned. And not among some of the other women that I've spoken to are certainly not uncomfortable around Gary. They're absolutely fine with him. And they think the world of him. So I don't understand why Leif is hell-bent on having Gary and Eric ruined and stamped with this predator, come interested in children and teenagers and fixating on TikTok being a teenage thing. From what I've gathered, I knew nothing about TikTok the last time I spoke to you about it. I've spoken to other people since then, and there's a hell of a lot more adults on there than there are kids. So it seems to be quite evenly balanced to me. Now, we need to get real here, guys. We need to understand that we live in it's not a very nice world that we live in. There are predators everywhere. It doesn't matter where we go. There are predators everywhere. There are going to be child predators everywhere. That you don't know if you're sitting beside one at your place of work. You don't know if you're sat beside one when you go to the cinema. Or you're sitting near to one when you're having a meal out somewhere. I'm not saying this is like everywhere you turn there's a predator. No, I am not saying that. But let's face it, there are some predators who we've gone, oh my God, I never would have guessed. And it's all taken us by surprise, yes. But Gary is not one, and Eric is not one. And they are not overstepping boundaries. They are doing their best to be friendly and supportive. And you know what, Leif? It's your loss, love. It is your loss. Because, you said yourself that you don't like people getting too close because you will lash out at them. You said that yourself in one of your own live streams. You said the only person you wanted close to you was Forrest. You didn't want anybody else close to you because you would lash out. Because you're known for lashing out. And I don't know why you lash out when people are just trying to help you. I don't get that. If that is part of the mental illness, then again, I'm just going to have to apologise. Because not suffering from it, I don't understand. And I'm trying to feel as much sympathy as I can. But if you can't accept that these two guys and also my friend Jan don't mean well by you, if all you can see is everybody ganging up against you, overstepping your boundaries. No, it just seems like that every time somebody disagrees with you or criticises you, it's an accusation of overstepping boundaries and you lash out at people. We all have to take the rough with the smooth. I know there are people who won't like what I have to say. I'm expecting fans of yours coming for me and telling me that I don't know anything and to keep my mouth shut and what have you. That's the rough with the smooth that I'm going to have to take. But if I am going to stand up for people I care about. And I care about these three people. And I'm sorry, Leif, you're wrong. And you can block me from now until the 10th kingdom. I don't care. I really just don't care. You are intelligent enough to understand that there are certain things I'm saying is true. And you're not the only person to have been abused by a family member, Leif. I'm telling you, you are not the only person to be abused by a family member. I know more about that than you realise. It's a horrible experience. And I've had to live with it for 48 years. And like I said, that's all I'm prepared to say about that at the moment. Anyway, I've noticed that this video was getting away with itself. So again, I just wanted to, I had plans to talk about all manner of other things today. But I'm sorry, the situation with Eric and Gary and my friend Jan's reviews had to take precedence. I had to speak out about it. I'm sorry if not everybody agrees with me with regard to Leif E Greenz, but I'm sorry, I have tried to be fair, and I have to speak as I find, and I find that Leif is being unfair to these 3 people. And it is her loss. And that's all I've got to say about that. So, until the next time, my friends, I shall see you soon. Please take care of yourself, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.